Zindagi Matters, where life meets hope. A mental health podcast by Swayam Foundation.
Hello and welcome to Zindagi Matters, the podcast where we explore the journey, challenges and success that shapes us who we are. Today we have a very deeply moving and inspiring story to share. It's about resilience, transformation and finding meaning in the most unexpected places. Our guest today grew up in a home shadowed by violence, witnessing it, experiencing it. These were not just events, but rather one can say they were defining moments of his childhood. Well, today he is here to share how those early experiences shaped his perspective, relationships, and of course identity as an adult. This is a story of survival, self-discovery, and hope. Please join me, Geeta Lal Sahai, in welcoming Sagar Pandey. Thank you very much, Sagar, for sharing your story in our podcast.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here. So good to be sharing my story with the audience. I hope with my story, they are in a position to feel enlightened and find a ray of hope.
You know, we often say that childhood is not often, but rather it is a fact that childhood shapes our adulthood. And so let me start from the very beginning.
Right.
Tell us about your journey, what was it at home? And when you always say uh, that you are a survivor of childhood abuse, so what do you
Right.
mean by that?
So I was the second child of my parents. I have an elder brother, and we were in a nuclear family setup. My uh, dad was in defense, my mother a homemaker, and
Mm-hmm.
a difference of age of 8 years is what I have with my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And childhood, the early childhood, like it was like if I recollect all the memories, I have good, but a lot of them are bad as well. I won't say they are not, but again, like it's a collective mix of everything. And when I look at it, the way it used to be, I mean, it was very traumatic because my father, like, as I read a lot of psychology and I do a lot of research, like I speak to a lot of people who are in this profession. I got to know that somewhere he is a narcissist as well. So I mean, I said, and
Let me interrupt here, Sagar. Like you are
sure,
saying, uh, first of all, you used a very strong word, I might as well say, that is
right,
traumatic experiences.
right,
I
right.
would like to know in detail, like when you say traumatic experiences,
Hmm.
what exactly do you mean by that? What kind of experiences were they? And secondly, you were talking about your father.
Hmm.
So you were saying in front of people was he was a different person
Hmm.
than at what he was at home. I would
Right.
like to know the difference there also. But first, tell me about your traumatic experiences. Like, what were they?
I mean, a lot of times I used to see a lot of domestic violence at home. I won't shy away from using this particular term because even in the small or on a minuscule mistake that uh, that could have been ignored or should have been ignored. It used to create a fiasco. It used to create a debacle.
And
And
how old were you there when you were witnessing this?
ma'am, I was very young. Like I would say, I wasn't even 10, to be honest. Right? Like in the very primary childhood years, I was in. Even to
So what
contemplate.
did you do, Sagar, like when the violence was happening at home as a
Hmm.
child, if you have any memory? You were saying
Ma'am,
not even 10, you were, so you must be 6, 7, 8, 9. So
ma'am,
like
even
what?
before that, like I remember like being 4, 5, 6. I was of that age, ma'am. Like because
Mm-hmm.
my father had a movable job. Like we used to move cities and all. Someday we are in Chandigarh.
Mm.
Then after a few years we were in Agra. The cities changed, but the attitude or the domestic violence never. So I think like it all you know uh, happened to be very traumatic in a way that when it used to happen, I used to find a place where I could either safeguard myself or not try to be a part of it, or I used to become very numb about the whole situation, that why is it happening. It used
Mm.
to send shivers down my spine, that why is this happening. I used to go very cold feet about it. And
Mm.
to be honest, when I used to witness it in front of my eye, I used to try to find a place where I couldn't see it eye to eye. That's first thing. And secondly, I used to just pray that it just ends. And every
Mm.
day after that particular incident, I just used to pray that please give some breathing space for not let it happen again, or because see again, it just required a spark to actually start the fire. That's how it used
Mm.
to be. And every day, my school and everything was the place where I could express myself, right? And every day I just used to think of that, next day I just have to go school, so I'll be safe. And every day when I used to come back from school, I used to be like, man, I'm going in hell again. So, or the better way to put it is that I used to get numb in front of it whenever it used to happen, when he used to abuse my mother or my brother. The whole scenario of it was so terrible. Even when I try to recollect, like it's just in pieces. But whenever I recollect, like um, it's very painful and dreadful, to be honest. It's
So
very
how did it
treacherous.
shape? Like how did you face your friends in school and when you,
I
in
never
college?
used
Like
to.
what happened when you start uh, when you must have started understanding what was happening at home. So
I
how
never
did
used
it
to.
affect you?
Uh, so, ma'am, I never used to tell anyone that what is happening at my place, because I was very ashamed of the whole thing that used to happen starting from the very beginning. I don't know how I developed that rationale. That
Hmm.
because I used to think that this isn't fair, but then again, like when you have the only breadwinner in the house and he's doing it, then it's very difficult in an Indian household to raise a voice against him, right?
Hmm.
That's one thing. The other thing is that it was very difficult. Like, I used to think that, I don't want to become like him.
Hmm.
Even though I am his son, I'm his, you know, the hair, right? How should I put
Hmm.
it? I don't want to be like him. And I carry his genes. I know that even I am short tempered, but then again, whenever I get angry, I remind myself of it, that, I don't want to be like him. So that's one thing. And the other part is that, as I grew older, I developed a lot of resentment towards him. That what was the need of it? And even when I grew up, like I remember being in, like I'm still 28, and I still remember like a couple of years ago as well. Like he tried doing the same, although I stepped in. So I mean, he's in his 60s. this hasn't stopped, and it still irks him that he can still do it. That's the audacity that he carries. So I mean, a lot of resentment, and it shaped my
But
personality a
does it
lot.
happen still?
No, it doesn't happen now. Of course, it doesn't. But the last time I remember was the time when I stepped in. Like I remember one incident. I was completing my graduation. I was in my final year, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, I came back home. I was like there were vacations. My college vacations were going on, and the next day, like he is into a lot of puja part and all that. So, and that's the reason I avoid all this, because I think that I'll become like him only. So I don't particularly do the prayers or anything. Although I won't say that I'm not inclined towards a higher power, but not necessarily any particular god. He's into a lot
Mm-hmm.
of meditation and all that practices, and might have
Mm-hmm.
benefited him as well. So as I was narrating the incident, like the next day we were supposed to leave for Mathura in the morning at 5, and the whole night, like my mother and my father, they sleep in one room. Um, Outside that room, like the next room I was sleeping in, and I could make out of all the noises that what was going on, and I couldn't sleep the whole night. And the next day, man had the
Mm-hmm.
audacity to take us all to Mathura just for the darshan of Sri Krishna. It was very difficult to carry all those emotions inside, and to carry your body with that baggage, sitting in the
Mm-hmm.
car and being on a Tirth Yatra kind of a thing. So
I can
that
imagine what
is,
must have gone, like what you must
and
have
that was,
experienced,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Sagar.
that was very
So,
difficult, and it shaped my personality to a lot of extent as well. Like even now, when I have to make certain decisions, I find it very difficult, and it's just not doing that. Like even uh, I carry a lot of confusions, because see again, I have that fear somewhere ingrained in me that if I do wrong, that something wrong is going to happen. Because again, like there was no space given in the beginning of my childhood that if you fail, what is the importance of failure,
mm,
right? So that wasn't a choice for me. And I remember, like whenever I used to score less marks, I used to hide my mark sheets because I was always fearful of the consequences.
mm-hmm.
Right, so all these things were there. Like I used to hide my mark sheets. I never used to tell my parents or my father particularly about the parent teacher meeting or anything, so that they don't come. And I used
So
to
were
try,
you also beaten up?
ma'am. So the tremors of itself, that seeing your mother and your brother getting hit, it
Mm,
it was enough for me to be in a constant fear. And whenever he used to scold me, I remember a lot of times I used to piss in my pants. So that's how it used to be. That's the fear that I
mm-hmm.
always used to carry, right? So that was another thing. And he has beaten me up for some things. I mean, I lost my phone one day, and I
Mm,
remember that whole night, like it was terrible. Whenever I used to lose something, or whenever I used to score low or any of that sort,
mm,
I mean, I used to pretend on the day of the PTM that I'm sleeping or I'm not at home. I used to try and avoid the situation as much as possible. And
mm.
even now today, like I fear from taking responsibilities a lot sometimes, or maybe I try and avoid the situation which is not very accommodating for me. So that is how it has shaped me as well. But I understand that why is it happening, and then I try and make my way through it.
So how did this impact your mental health?
I mean, ma'am, as I mentioned that a lot of times when I take decisions, I'm always in a state of confusion, and there
Mm,
are fears. Right, when I sleep at night, I always dream of those past incidents. And
mm,
I remember, like I started taking therapy, and
mm-hmm.
I have acute psychosis,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when like I got to know that
So, are you under medication even now?
yeah, I do take medications,
Mm-hmm.
but they actually help a lot. Medications are fine, but again,
Mm-hmm.
like you have to work, you have to take therapy, and that's how medicines work. Like you just can't rely
Mm-hmm.
on medicines itself, right? They are given to help you out, right, in a way, but they're not the only way. They're not the solution to it.
Mm-hmm.
Solution still depends on you, right? They'll help you in a way to actually carve your path, right? They actually help regulate your mood as well. They help you calm you down again, because see, again, like I have a condition, that doesn't mean you also have a condition. Sometimes only therapy can help. So
Sagar, you are saying rightly, but also, like, environment also plays a very major part. So,
of
have you
course, ma'am.
changed your environment or you're still there?
So ma'am, for the past 10 years I have been staying out of my home. And why past 10 years? Like first 4 years of graduation, then I started working after my graduation. COVID happened, I wasn't at home.
Hmm.
Then I moved to Africa for some time, and now after Africa I'm here. So even when I'm here at my father's place, right, where he stays, uh, and where the whole family stays, right? So I mean, I try and come back as late as possible,
Hmm.
right? So that's one way to look at it, and leave as early as possible, right? I rarely communicate. I know it's very distressing as well for me, but then again, like I have tried to find out or have found out certain safe spaces wherein
Hmm.
I can be
Hmm.
myself. There's no one to judge, so that is
Hmm.
very important, right? Your friends and all, they play a very pivotal role, I would say, in that manner. And
Hmm.
I mean, the safe spaces, they really need to be good in terms of not judging you, um,
Hmm.
giving you the chance to express, the space to express, and make you feel comfortable,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes we have also seen that safe spaces, what we consider, they go on to become a place where people go on to do substance abuse and all as well, right? But you have to make certain choices again, that where exactly you want to be and how you want to be, because if you have to live
Hmm.
a good life, again, you have to make good choices as well. Sometimes you don't have choices which you can make. I mean, your parents, you
Hmm.
cannot choose them, but then again, friends are uh, something that you can definitely choose, right? So again, friends are very important in life. If you don't have friends, I mean, try and find some spaces where you can express. There are safe groups. There are the groups where people talk about their problems and all, so that also works. Because I was in Africa, I did not know anyone, right? And
How did you go to Africa? You said Rwanda you went, right?
yes, ma'am, yes. So Rwanda,
So, was it an escape or?
I won't say it was an escape, but rather I wanted to so ma'am, there are a couple of perspectives to it. First thing is that if you ask someone that where exactly you want to travel abroad or overseas, everyone will say the USA, the Europe, and any other country. Nobody
Hmm.
will come voluntarily and say I want to travel to Africa. But I had that
Hmm.
penchant towards Africa because, see, again, I challenge things, I challenge certain norms and all,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
it's important to understand that Africa is one such nation or one such continent, which is um, which is often being considered or stereotyped as where people are still poor,
Hmm.
right? So I actually wanted to go and see, but that is not the case anymore. Like Rwanda is a beautiful country. It's becoming the Singapore of Africa,
Hmm.
And if I may go on to say as well, like, I mean, definitely the genocide happened 30 years ago. There are still cases of
Hmm.
PTSD, but then again, the country is growing, and it is one of the safest countries in Africa. Like, even if you step out at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the night, I mean, you're very
Hmm.
safe. Very safe.
Hmm.
That's how safe it is in Rwanda. So, Rwanda, I picked up certain projects of my own. I used to be in advertising and all. I used to be a writer. I'm still a writer. So, I picked up certain projects there for certain brands. I worked there for some time and then I came back. But was it really an escape? Like,
Hmm.
had
No.
I given the chance, or if I may, if I would have had the option of staying for more number of years, for no for more number of months,
Hmm.
um, I mean, I would have loved to. But then again, as I mentioned that, you sometimes don't have choices to make. So again,
Hmm.
uh, if you have to take a highway, then there is no my way. So
Hmm.
that's how it is. It cannot be
Hmm.
always my way or highway. Sometimes you have to take a
Hmm.
highway.
Has there ever been moments or any time when you felt isolated or misunderstood due to your mental health condition, psychosis?
Yes, ma'am, of course. Ma'am, only there are very handful number of people who understand my condition. And to
Hmm.
be honest, ma'am, we stay in a country where, you know, rarely people understand, or, they're empathetic towards any other person. Rarely
Hmm.
you will find anyone in India who's empathetic or carries an empathetic attitude towards anyone. Like, if I push you even by mistake, the first word, everyone knows what you're going to hear back, specifically in Delhi, if you're in Delhi, right? Or, the people are rarely empathetic, ma'am. They won't understand your situation because they are themselves very frustrated right now. Everyone is frustrated. Everyone is carrying some kind of a baggage. So
Hmm.
I have stopped expecting a lot from people until and unless it's a business deal, or
Hmm.
or I have to really meet the person, or host them in a way that it's important for me, or that I know that it's something that I'll be carrying it for a long time. So again, it's very important to draw a line. Sometimes those lines also become very blurry, but then again, like, to compartmentalize certain situations and the different environments and surroundings that I am in, like, that I'm doing right now. Earlier it was very difficult. Like, I remember being in workplace, carrying that anger to my place where I used to stay in Bangalore, and
Hmm.
being very rude with my friends. So that and all I have been through, and now that I realize, I look back at it. I mean, I do have this
So, do
realization
you
that
have 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. Friend or not?
I have, I have, I have a few, and even my partner, she's very encouraging, and she's very supportive, ma'am. To be honest,
Like they understand your mental health, right?
of course, ma'am, of course, they do, they definitely do, and the best part is that Um, we give each other that space to actually talk about it, that how am I feeling about it, how is she feeling about it, uh you know what could have been done in this situation. We take those steps towards working it out in a much better way, or reforming it, so because
Mm-hmm.
it's important, ma'am, because see, we are social animals. If the other
Mm.
person is misbehaving, at least I can behave in a certain manner to, calm down the whole situation.
Mm.
That's important, and not cause any chaos out of it, or make the situation more chaotic. You can't fight every battle, and you can't win every war. Sometimes it's better that you move past it and don't put in your energy into everything. There are so many noises in the world.
I like this. You can't fight every battle and you can't win every war. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessary that you fight every battle, ma'am. Like sometimes it's just
Hmm.
necessary that you bypass it, right? If you keep fighting every battle, every
Hmm.
war at every street and every corner, you won't be in a position to move forward in life and look for the rising sun, right? Because see again, like it's very important that you realize uh, the importance of present as well, right? A lot of
Hmm.
us we don't stay in present. We are not mindful about a lot of things.
Hmm.
I mean, how many of us actually
Hmm.
remember the last time what we ate, and the last time when we actually, were grateful about something that we did for ourselves, right? Forget about
Hmm.
others, what we did for ourselves, right? So it's important that we remember small things. I do diary entry a lot. I write a lot. That helps me a lot because see,
Hmm.
if I'm having a bad day, I've written about good days as well. So human nature,
Hmm.
human tendencies are such that we often forget the bad days, the good days, right? We remember the bad ones, and to an intensity that we catastrophize it as well. That I'm having a very bad day.
Hmm.
This has happened. This has happened. But then it's important to look back on those good days as well. To balance it out, to neutralize certain situation.
Do you see or did your psychiatrist tell you ever that your psychosis or the present mental state is because of your childhood trauma?
Oh yes, ma'am. Of course, like childhood trauma played a bigger role. It played a very big role, ma'am. And why? Because I'm telling you, is because uh, I had very spiraling thoughts back in the day,
Hmm.
and clarity about things was extremely bleak,
Hmm.
right? And being a musician, being a writer, and all. When I look back to what I used to write again, like why am I emphasizing on writing again and again? Because I have been writing since the age of since the age when I was in class 11th or 12th. And when I
Hmm.
look back at those things and those the incidences that I've written, I remember that this thing has happened today, and I really hope this doesn't happen again. So it was very merciful, or it was in a way that I used to be guilty about things, that has it happened because of me, right? That was one thing that I used to think of.
Hmm.
Second was that when I look back at it, uh, I used to I used to write, or I have written in the book that in my diary, that I have written that uh, please don't let it happen again. Like all these things I have written in a way. I was a
Hmm.
kid, and I feel very pitiful on that kid when I look back that he went through all this. It's painful to look at
Hmm.
a child who went through all this, right? And
Yes.
he's praying in his words. He's putting prayers in his words that don't let it
Hmm.
happen again. So distressing. It's very distressing.
Your
It's
voice is
very.
saying everything, Sagar. Looking back now, what would
Yeah.
you tell someone who is currently facing violence in their homes or is struggling with psychosis? So, what would you advise them?
uh, I mean, it's very philosophical and has been said multiple times by a lot of people, but again, there is a ray of hope at the end of the tunnel. That's one thing for sure. Like if you are going through it, it will make you resilient. But then again, like you need to have certain safe spaces. You need to have good friends to vouch upon, like who won't judge you. If a person makes fun of it, that तेरी तेरे पापा या तेरी मम्मी ऐसे करते हैं, he's not a friend of yours, to be honest.
Hmm.
He's not a friend. Go find someone else. He's not a friend, or she's not a friend, if they're not understanding the situation, right? That's one thing for sure. Secondly, psychosis is, it takes you to just another parallel universe where you just constantly think, think, think. And if you have nothing to work around or nothing to look at, I mean, find something, or else it will drain you with thoughts. Be it in the morning, be it in the night. You do whatever you want to, but nothing is gonna help if you just keep thinking. Even if you meditate, they're just train of thoughts. Just running behind those thoughts won't help you. Seek professional help. There are professionals who are expert in this, who can actually help you. And one thing that helped me was writing a lot. So having clarity about your thoughts gives you clarity in life as well, because you're in a position to make better decisions. And better decisions, better decision, I'm not saying that, wrong or right. I mean, you are in a position to make decisions. Wrong or right is only when you make that decision and get to know whether it was right or wrong, right? So that way as well. And the other thing is, like, if you're seeing it, step up for it, raise your voice. If you're not able to, if you can move out of it, try and do that. That is only going to help.
Thank you, Sagar. Thank you, Sagar, for sharing your story. And of course, it's a story of survival and story of reflection. And
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you. And I hope with this podcast, we're in a position to reach out to maximum number of people. And I hope my story helps them as well.
thank you, Sagar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Zindagi Matters, where life meets hope. A mental health podcast by Swayam Foundation.